I've been carrying this weight inside me for a long time, but now I need to let it out. Maybe sharing it will help me heal, or maybe it won't, but I have to try. I'm a 49-year-old man, and I married my wife Michelle when I was 31. Michelle had a daughter, Sandra, from a previous relationship. Sandra was just 4 years old when I met her. Her biological father was never really around. He left when she was a baby, no child support, no cards, no calls. Completely disappeared from their lives. When I first met Sandra, she was shy and quiet, barely speaking above a whisper around strangers. But after a few months, she started to open up. I'll never forget the first time she reached out to hold my hand at a petting zoo. That small, fragile hand of mine felt like everything locking into place inside my chest. Michelle and I got married the next year. I never pushed to legally adopt Sandra because her biological dad still had parental rights. But in every way that mattered, I was her dad. I took her to daycare, taught her to ride a bike, sat through every dance recital and school play, helped with homework, made her lunches. When she had her first heartbreak in high school, it was my hoodie she cried into. I gave her my everything because I wanted to. I loved her like she was my own blood. Sandra never once called me stepdad. From the moment she started talking, she called me dad. Michelle struggled with chronic health issues and couldn't work full-time, so I picked up extra shifts. We weren't rich, but we made it work. I saved every penny I could, slowly building a college fund for Sandra. She had big dreams. First vet school, then psychology. She was smart, driven, and I was so proud. When she got accepted to a pricey private college with barely any financial aid, I took out a second mortgage to pay every tuition bill, textbook, and dorm deposit. I never made her feel guilty about it. It was an investment in her future. What else is a dad supposed to do? When Sandra graduated, I cried like I never thought I would. She hugged me tight and said, "I wouldn't have made it without you, Dad." That moment, I held on to it like it was all I had left. Then, just a year later, Michelle was gone. Cancer took her fast, brutal, and unfair. Sandra and I were both shattered. For a while, we leaned on each other. We cried, sifted through old photos, planned a memorial. I thought we'd grow closer, but what came next was something I never saw coming. A few months after Michelle's passing, Sandra got engaged. She met a guy named Eric. Nice, quiet, kind. When she asked if I could help with the wedding costs, I didn't hesitate. I knew she was still paying off college loans, but I told her, of course, that's what dads do. I paid for the venue deposit, the photographer, her custom dress, a dress more expensive than any car I'd ever owned, and even flew in Eric's family from out of state. The tab was around $28,000, and I never once blinked. I thought I was building memories. I thought I was still her dad. Then, about a week before the wedding, during a small planning dinner with Sandra and Eric, she dropped a bombshell. As we went over the timeline, she casually mentioned, "After dinner, I'll have the father-daughter dance with my real dad." I laughed, thinking she'd misspoken. "You mean me, right?" I asked. She looked uncomfortable and said, "No, I mean my biological dad. His name's Tom. He's flying in from Nevada." I swear the room got colder. I said, "You're having a father-daughter dance with him? The man who vanished when you were a baby?" She shrugged, eyes down. "We reconnected a few months ago. I found him on Facebook. He's apologized, said he regretted leaving. We've been talking a lot. He's coming to the wedding. I just feel like I need that moment, closure." I sat there stunned. Not angry, just hollow, like someone had knocked the air out of me. "I've been your dad for 18 years, I said quietly. "I know," she said, "and I'm so grateful. I really am. This isn't about replacing you. It's about something I never got to have with him." I didn't yell. I didn't storm out. I just nodded and said, "Okay." I went home and sat in my car for an hour, staring at the dashboard. Then I started making calls. Venue, caterer, DJ, florist. All the final payments were still pending. I canceled every check. I withdrew all financial support quietly, without a scene, just like she asked. 2 days later, Sandra called furious. "What the hell, Dad? You mean Tom?" she yelled. I said, "Apparently that title's already taken. Let him handle it." She cried and called me petty, accused me of ruining her big day over one dance. I reminded her I was the one who stayed up with her during fevers, worked overtime to send her to school, held her when her mom died. All I ever asked was to be seen as her dad, not a wallet, not a placeholder. She said it wasn't about money. I told her neither was my love. The wedding went on, smaller and quieter, a church basement, cheap buffet, a Bluetooth speaker playlist. I wasn't invited. I saw a few photos online. There she was, dancing with Tom. He looked smug. She looked satisfied. I haven't spoken to her since. She texted once. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just needed to know him." I left it on read. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I don't even know what I want. Maybe closure, maybe just to tell my side. For 18 years, I gave everything to a little girl I loved like my own, and in the end, I realized I was just a stand-in, a convenient, reliable, invisible man. Maybe I was never her real dad, but I showed up, and I don't regret loving her. I regret believing I was irreplaceable. It's been 8 months since the wedding. I've been through every emotion, rage, grief, guilt, emptiness. I keep asking myself, did I overreact? Did I let one moment destroy a relationship I built over nearly 2 decades? Could I have swallowed the insult and smiled through it? But the truth I keep coming back to is this. It wasn't about the dance. It was what the dance represented. I didn't just lose a seat at the wedding. I lost my place in her life. For months, there was radio silence. No calls, no texts, no birthday message. In April, when we used to have a Sunday tradition, watching movies or cooking together, it didn't happen. She hasn't been to the house once since that night. But the house still feels like hers, in a way. There's a bookshelf in the living room with her favorite childhood books. The Secret Garden, Matilda, a tattered copy of Charlotte's Web, books I used to read to her at bedtime. Her old room is untouched, still glowing with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, a cracked photo frame on the nightstand of the two of us at the zoo. The day she first called me Dad. I tried once to take it down, but couldn't. Not yet. I've seen her a few times around town. Once at the grocery store at Eric. She spotted me and ducked into another aisle, unable to meet my eyes. The second time was at the cemetery, where I visit Michelle's grave every month. Sandra showed up unexpectedly one Saturday near the anniversary. We stood there in silence for a long time. She cried. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I could think about was how Michelle would have felt if she saw what had happened to us. Finally, Sandra broke the silence. I didn't mean to replace you, she said, tears streaming down her face. You didn't replace me, I said quietly. You erased me. She flinched, and I hated saying it, but it was the truth. I just want to know where I came from. You came from a woman who gave everything she had, I said, and a man who gave you everything he earned. She looked down and whispered, I miss you. I almost reached out to hug her, but then I remembered every night I stayed awake, wondering where I went wrong. Every time I looked at a photo of us, I felt like a fool. So I stepped back. I miss who you used to be, I said, but I don't know who you are now. She nodded, said nothing, and then she left again. Since then, it's been quiet. I started therapy, something I should have done years ago but never made time for. My therapist said something that stuck with me. Grief isn't always about death. Sometimes it's about mourning the version of love you thought was real. I'm trying to build a life again. I got back into woodworking, made a bench for the front porch. I adopted an older rescue dog named Milo. He's half blind and snores louder than a lawnmower, but he follows me around like I hung the moon. A few weeks ago, I finally boxed up some of Sandra's old things, not out of anger, but acceptance. I kept a few items, a stuffed penguin she used to sleep with, that old photo from the zoo. They're tucked away in a drawer now, not on display. I don't know if that makes me a bad person, but I needed the house to stop feeling like a museum for someone who no longer lives here. Eric messaged me last week. First contact since the wedding. He said Sandra's pregnant. I stared at the message for a long time. My first thought, am I supposed to be happy for her? My second, Does she expect me to be a grandpa now? He didn't ask for money or favors. He just said Sandra's struggling emotionally and thought maybe I'd want to know. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Because the thing that hurts the most isn't just that she hurt me. It's that when she made the biggest decisions of her life, she chose to write me out of them. And now she expects me to flip the page and pick up a new chapter like nothing ever happened. But I can't. Not yet. Maybe someday. If she comes to me with honesty, not guilt, not obligation, I'll find it in me to open that door again. But until then, I'm learning how to be okay on my own. I gave 18 years of my life to a little girl I love like my own, and in return, I learned one of the hardest lessons of all. Love doesn't always come back the way you gave it.